And so the main things I would say we did at the very beginning, because we didn't know how much, like what else we could do with very limited capital. A lot of our capital went into our inventory and our design of our website and so on. So we just started building community. And that was either by way of social media or, we had a pretty strong community of supporters here locally in our own city. So we started there and we supplemented our e-commerce business with, a couple of launch parties and pop-ups and things that would bring people into a store.
Like, we started selling this product out of the trunk of our cars.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Inventory management is about balance.
Get the product out. That's number one.
I've always preached sustainable growth.
So we just started building community.
Look at the data.
Product development is everything.
Yeah, we say we're a brick, click, and pop.
But you have to love what you do.
Welcome to another episode of Merchant Mastery Podcast. Today I'm sitting with Vivian McCormick, who is a co-founder of Flax. Last night we were all attending a Shopify meetup here in Vancouver, and Vivian was speaking on a panel. And it was great having you there, and thanks for joining us again today.
Yeah, it was super fun. Happy to do it.
So just to get started, let's talk about Flax.
Sure.
I always like to just start and kind of hear your story. So what were you doing before Flax? What got you to where you are today? And give us a little state of the business.
So I come to e-commerce in a totally weird way. Maybe not for, maybe this will happen more, and I hope it does. But I practiced law for about a decade here in Vancouver before transitioning out, again, not immediately into entrepreneurship, but maybe more first into consulting with entrepreneurs and then doing, because I figured I needed to have some experience doing if I was going to be helping. I was a corporate lawyer for a number of years and then worked for Business Development Bank of Canada, where I met a lot of entrepreneurs and then realized that they have a lot of pain points that they go through and that it wasn't unique to any one particular entrepreneur. And so started off down that path. And then Flax Sleep came about because one of our co-founders, Anna, was in the market for bedding and just couldn't find anything that she wanted, and found it really difficult. She went to bricks and mortar, and it was just prohibitively expensive because of the markups that happen at every level of distribution. And then went online instead and couldn't find anything curated enough to trust what was going to come and arrive at her front door. And then the idea of paying duties and exchange and shipping for something that you ultimately aren't happy with was really, she doesn't shop online for that reason. And she probably does more now, but but not back then. And so we set out to build something that would meet that need. So curate something that we know that our customers will love, have it be in Canada because this is our first market of growth. And so people can buy from us knowing that there are no hidden duties that come when they arrive at your door, and no exchange rate changes and things like that. So that's how we got where we are.
So you kind of said this, we were having a brief discussion prior to the podcast, and you were saying that you started a business to solve a problem.
Totally.
So what problem are you solving specifically with linen?
Yeah, well, okay. So it's funny because when we say problem, I remember when we first started the business, I was almost hesitant to say problem because what's the problem? Getting bed sheets is hardly like it's probably a 1% problem, but it's a problem or a desire, right? So on the desire side, there are people who just aesthetically want to have a bedroom that looks a certain way. Okay. And then as we started to look further and further into it, the problems you're actually meeting are that linen as a fiber and that like as a fabric is really different from other bedding that gets made out of cotton or bamboo. And someone last night said to me, I thought linen meant everything, like all linens. And I said, yeah, you can. Linens in the general sense means bed linens, but linen is a totally different fiber. It's a different fabric. And so the problem that we found that we actually started to solve for people was temperature regulation is a big one. Right. So linen is much more breathable, so you're not sweating through the night, so more comfortable sleep. And then it's also antimicrobial. It's like longer lasting. So we're solving problems of people who don't want to contribute to textile waste. They didn't want their bedrooms to be part of any fast fashion circumstance that are happening now with apparel and things like that. I find that people are really starting to gravitate towards something that will last longer.
And
so
also just like
yeah.
it sounds like the pain of the shipping and
Oh,
the
totally.
options and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
markups and all these things too.
Yeah, so what we wanted to try to solve was for somebody to come to the website and have a very simple yet enjoyable experience. And so from start to finish, things we strive for our website to be very clear. We don't offer, a huge plethora of colors. There's like 3 core colors, 2 seasonal colors, 2 or 3 get brought in every season, which is twice a year. And then we've slowly branched out into other items. So we have quilts now, we have robes. Everything is still 100% linen because that's what we started with and what we want to stay with as long as possible. And so the problems I think you end up solving are making people's shopping experience easy, right? Because even if you go, I think I used to do this. I used to definitely go into the Bay to buy bedding. And even if you go in there, you are faced with a wall of stuff, right? And you said, like, how do you know what cotton to buy? I have no idea. So you're faced with this wall of stuff. And you then what do? You start to think about price. You start to think about what brand do I recognize? And so you're just sort of paralyzed a little bit with choice. Whereas for us, I think it was really important to ensure that if you come to our website, that you are then met with simplicity and still luxury, but not at a price that is the typical bricks and mortar. If you're buying from a large store, like 100% linen bedding is probably at least double the price of how we can do it. Yeah. So if the bedding costs the same as the mattress, it's a little bit hard to swallow, I think, for some people. Yeah.
And it sounds like things are really picking up. Like, I didn't know this about you until we were just chatting.
Yeah.
But you've been around since April 2018?
Yeah, we started selling in April 2018. So it's just less than 2 years.
Less than 2 years, and you're already you just switched over to Shopify Plus.
Yeah, which has been amazing. And I think just to be met with a lot of the other brands that are on Shopify Plus, it's pretty mind-blowing to realize how many of those websites are actually powered by Shopify.
And for anyone
I had
listening,
no idea.
To go on Shopify Plus is quite a big leap.
It's a big leap. It's a big jump. It's a big investment.
Yeah, and you need to be doing a certain amount of volume.
Yeah, we've been really. 2019 was a great year for us. We actually won Canada Post Startup of the Year award, which was also crazy because to be amongst Best Buy was a winner, Well.ca was a winner, and so we came in the startup category. And yeah, it does wonders for our brand, but it also, from an operational standpoint, Canada Post is like a really good partner of ours now. So between Canada Post and Shopify, like, we are very nicely supported by Canadian supporters. Excellent. Which is awesome.
So how did let's dive into it. Like, how did you you're on Shopify Plus now? How did you kind of start building the e-commerce business? What were some big strategies or anything that was really effective for you?
So I think at the beginning for us, we came from e-commerce backgrounds other than shopping. So I recognized what I saw on other websites, but I had no idea about the intricacies of how it all worked, right? We came from corporate backgrounds. We came from hospitality backgrounds. But we knew that this was the platform that we needed. We did not want to invest in bricks and mortar. And so the main things I would say we did at the very beginning, because we didn't know how much, like, what else we could do with very limited capital. A lot of our capital went into our inventory and our design of our website and so on. So we just started building community. And that was either by way of social media or, we had a pretty strong community of supporters here locally in our own city. So we started there and we supplemented our e-commerce business with, a couple of launch parties and pop-ups and things that would bring people into a store, because we recognize that bedding is, ours especially too, it's an investment. And we do, as I mentioned last night, we have return policies that allow for you to try it out for 60 nights, but some people just want to feel it, right? And so we did mostly still like building our community online, reaching out to people that way, building our email list, really establishing our personality and how we wanted to do this business with our customers to make them kind of, like you said, like raving fans of what you're doing. That's the only thing we could do because we didn't have the capital to pay for like crazy amounts of ads,
it's
right?
It's honestly a really common trend. Like we talked to a lot of Shopify store owners and people who are doing really well. They started by just building
100%.
really great community.
Yeah, and so then they become your evangelists and your supporters, and makes life pretty easy.
So tell me about actually, one of the things we were talking about last night too is that you could drive all the traffic in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
How do you
if you're
convert them?
Converting it to an email list or to a first-time buyer. Has that the 60-day?
Yeah, 60 days sleep on it, and if you return it, we donate it to a local charity.
Is that a big part of the business? The 60-day try, like a lot of people redeeming that.
Well, the thing is, every purchaser gets the opportunity if they needed to, but kind of like I said last night, when we first started, we had so few returns that the charity that we were supporting thought we were, making it up. Yeah, and so, but as your volume increases, that's just natural to have people say, it's not for me. But still, the numbers are really low, like single digits. In the low single digits, stuff comes back.
I think it's a brilliant offer. Like when you package up some type of offer on your website, you want it to be undeniably valuable, and you want people just leaping into it. So
and it's, we didn't reinvent the wheel, because what we realized was the mattress companies that were doing all online sales and a lot of other large items that you would not typically buy online, you have to offer people the ability to give it back if they don't love it, because it's a large purchase. So how do you get them to get over that fear that I'm going to invest a lot of money and then hate it? And then what do I do with it? Right? What do I do with this giant mattress? What do I do with this set of bedding? I have no idea.
It makes sense that you would want to touch it.
You want to feel it.
And make sure it's right for you.
And for us, like even far and above the mattress example, you also want to make sure it goes in your room properly, so that the colors match with whatever else is in your room, that you like the feel of it. So linen is very interesting because it gets softer with every wash. So the fibers start to soften up, and over time you end up with this like beautiful, cozy, luxurious set of bedding. And so we want people to wash it a few times and use it and notice that it is getting softer. So again, with the 60 days, we want to make sure that you enjoy sleeping on it. Very few people come back and say they don't. And I think we had the confidence of that. We knew that because we had slept in it, and we thought, not many people are going to send these back, and they don't. If anybody's sending anything back, it's sometimes the color doesn't work in their room, and they thought it would. But even in those senses, they're returning it and exchanging it for a different color. So it's worked out really, really well.
This just reminds me of the conversation we were having about Pinterest.
Yeah.
Like mood boards. Do you ever get pre-guide how it might look in a room before people buy? Like, is that a big part of your content strategy?
Yeah, we're definitely trying to work more on always on reiterating how we put out that content. So whether it's showing you what that color looks like in and amongst other things that are of that color tone, so you get an idea. We also are showing people how to mix and match the colors, because that's something we realized as we started, that we have way more return customers than we expected, because they're coming back and say, I bought a all cloud set. So that's our white core color. And then seasonally, because we do it twice a year, we came out with this beautiful marigold set. And so people were like, I want the marigold duvet set. And then I just pair it up.
Right.
So I mix and match my bedding. And like I said, it's the demographic of people who are buying this bedding used to really do that with their clothing. And then you get to a point where you want your home. That's your point of pride, as opposed to the outfits you're wearing. And so our seasonal choice of colors oftentimes brings people back because they want to add in that. That's great. I mean, that's an important part, is like building customer loyalty and repeat selling. Yeah, and it has been, it wasn't, admittedly, I don't think it was a strategy from the get-go, because we expected, listen, we're selling a product that's supposed to have longevity. And if they don't come back to buy, that's probably good, because they're enjoying the thing that they bought. But then as we started doing these seasonal colors, we started noticing that there were repeat buyers. And you said something really important last night that I think is totally true. We do so well with our existing buyers that some of the promotions we've run them specifically at our existing buyers and not our new acquisitions, or they've been for different campaigns for different things, and the return for those campaigns that are aimed specifically at people who have already bought before they match almost the new acquisition campaigns, which says a lot, I think, to us, to say, hey, you know what, we gave them another reason to come back, and they do.
That's
phenomenal. So that's been and those are all like giving a discount to sign up for your newsletter. Participating in Black Friday was actually a really difficult decision for us to make, whether we would do it or not.
For a lot of people.
For a lot of people, and a lot of people who are starting out, it's not a cost thing necessarily or a margin thing. For us, it was a little bit of just a consumerism thing, which I know sounds really funny when you own an e-commerce retailer, but we still want to participate to like in conscious capitalism, not just like buy everything you see because it's on sale. Right. So Black Friday is just a tough thing to decide to participate in. But we did this year, we didn't the first year. And so we tried out campaigns at that point, going back to our existing buyers, going to new buyers to see what would happen around that time of year. And you know, the outcomes and the data are so important to us now.
One of the stats we have
crazy.
Buried away is that 80 to 90% of people who buy on Black Friday are repeat customers.
Yeah, they're just waiting.
Or they already know you.
It was so funny because I think what we noticed, and we talked to a lot of other brands in Vancouver, because we built a community not just of customers, but we built a community of other mostly female entrepreneurs who are doing e-commerce or some manner of sale, whether it's bricks and mortar as well. And the observation around Black Friday was that people just literally have their credit cards out and they just want to buy everything on that day. Like it's sort of this thing you're waiting for. So yeah, a lot of our people who came back were existing customers.
So it's kind of like a gift.
Yeah. It's sort of a, you know, you've shopped here already, and we did our Black Friday promotion this year was gift card related. So if you purchase a certain amount, you got a gift card.
Excellent.
And then they would turn around and buy again using the gift card.
So
it was like repeat buyers on the same day. It was a really cool thing.
We were some stats about gift cards over Black Friday too, and the funny thing is people usually buy more than the amount of the gift card. Mm-hmm. It actually incentivizes them to buy more than they would have.
They almost always do, and you know, the way that our products happen to be offered is that it like you would have to. And we don't do that by design, but it's just more that's how it works out. So people do think, that's okay, I'm using this gift card, which is effectively another discount of a certain percentage on this next thing I'm buying. Great. You know, and so, it was an interesting test for us. Everything, because we're so new, a lot of what we do is kind of a let's test it and see what we think and go from there. That's been part of probably our biggest growth strategy at this point is to recognize that, when we started, again, we designed our website to look the way we wanted it to. It's very aesthetically pretty, but then at a certain point we had to figure out what works for e-commerce. Like what are the best practices and the benchmarks for figuring out how to get people to conversion, right?
Right, yeah.
So every thing that we do now is to try to test whether or not the theories and the benchmarks and the best practices actually work with our customers.
Yeah, I think that it must be interesting to see how it's a really intimate experience for your shopper buying these linens. And
totally.
So do you how intimate is the manufacturing process for you?
Well, when we found our manufacturer and received our samples and started sleeping on them and loving them ourselves, it was almost a no-brainer that we were going to get on a plane and go to visit our manufacturer, who at the time was in Shenzhen. So what seemed very surreal, because I literally had been in a corporate job sitting at a desk for years, all of a sudden I was jumping on a plane and going to Hong Kong for literally 4 days on the ground. And, we were in an Airbnb going over our business plans, and we planned out our entire business. Sidebar, we also wrote founder's vows, which I think are super important for us because we were friends to start with. So we got to Hong Kong and realized that it's really time to buckle down and figure out what this looks like for us as the three of us, how we're going to keep that working well.
I got real goosebumps right now,
it was really valuable, and it just set the tone for how we work with each other, because this stuff is not, it's fun. We love it, but it's hard work. And you won't always agree, and you've got to figure out how to move forward. So that was really important to us, but we're sitting in Hong Kong, and one day we go over across the border into Shenzhen and visit our family-run manufacturer. So I'm standing in the middle of this. It wasn't a large factory. It was a really good size, and we met everybody who was there, from owner all the way through to the salespeople we were dealing with, all the way through to the people who were making and packing our stuff. And it was really surreal. I'm looking around going, I can't believe that we're here. And we've continued that method of working with our partners, our suppliers. It's really important to us to meet everybody. It's important to us to visit when we can. And so that process, I think, is quite an intimate thing for us, because now we can speak really confidently that the products that are being made by people we trust, and that passes along to our customer.
Absolutely.
So
so with the business model now, you get this great manufactured product. It's intimate to you. It's intimate to the customer. Are you only selling direct to consumer through Shopify, or are there other avenues? Are you wholesaling anywhere? Or
yeah,
on
we
Amazon
do a little bit. We don't use any other platforms. So our online purchasing is only through Shopify at the moment. We have a few retail partners across Canada. So we have a beautiful boutique in Gastown here called Litchfield, who has carried our brand from the start of our business. And he has an incredible curated amount of items in this boutique. And so to be part of that was, again, like, you're going to walk in and it's a curated experience, and they're not throwing 100 things at you. And then we've actually grown out into Ontario. So we have another retailer in Prince Edward County, which is really growing as kind of cottage country grows. Yeah.
Muskoka near there?
Yeah, it's actually separate from Muskoka, but it's the kind of like, I don't know, it's like the new hip place to be. Yeah, I'm not from Ontario, so I just trust Anna. She's from Ontario, and but we've met. I don't know if you guys are familiar. There's a wonderful motel out there called the June Motel, and it was, if you look it up, it's like an Instagrammer's dream.
Okay.
So the June Motel opened a couple years ago, and it literally is, again, people like us, like I think a banker, and they had prior lives, and they decided to buy an old motel and fix it up and turn it into this beautiful.
Are they using your bedding?
They are. We talk with them about how that could work. So they've just become friends of ours and like good business collaborators. So that is hopefully in the works. But yeah, so Prince Edward County, a store owner who was opening a new boutique there approached us to carry our stuff, and it's been going really great for her as well. So we don't do a lot of wholesale. We do mostly, like, we consider them partners. And then we do our own pop-ups.
Okay, and pop-ups, it goes back to building that community.
Absolutely, yeah. Which is so cool, because Vancouver, when we first launched, it was really funny. The first few days, any purchase who came through, the three of us were messaging each other like, do we know them? Like, and we did. We knew a lot of people were buying from us. They were our community of people we actually knew. And then slowly that's just grown, and we don't know anyone who buys from us anymore. Like, all of our friends come back and buy, but we're really thrilled that we're selling all the way across Canada.
Like the volume that you're doing to be on Shopify Plus, there's no
totally.
way
you can't know everybody. No, we'd have to have a lot of friends. But so that has expanded incredibly. And then we found in our Vancouver pop-ups, people were coming because they saw that we were, like, we would talk about it on Instagram, and they came because they wanted to see us. And we run, we're a small team, again, founders only, and we run all our own pop-ups. And people who come to see us and who hear about us talk about the product often leave with something because we believe in it so much. So we did our first pop-up in Toronto late last year in October. And again, same really cool thing. People were showing up and saying, I've seen your brand online. I really wanted to come and see it in person. And then they meet us, and it was so cool. We did a collaboration with a woman who has a beautiful home called the Ossington House, and they run brand experiences and things like that in the house. So we would tour them, like our showroom was set up as all the bedrooms in the home had different bedding colors on them. And so we would tour them ourselves through the home, and by the time they leave, they were, everybody would leave with an item because they just saw it in person. They met us. they heard our story, they heard why we love linen and wanted to try it out. So yeah, the pop-ups have been incredibly successful for us.
And does that like transfer over to your online marketing? Like, would you do a lot of content around the
Yeah,
pop-ups?
definitely. Like, we made sure that people knew well ahead of time that we were coming. We've planned, our email marketing is planned for the year, with the ability to intersperse things here and there. But we plan out at the beginning of every year, our calendar year, to figure out where we're going to be, what's going to happen, and we make sure that all of our content flows that way. So email marketing, social media, we just make sure that we've left pockets for all of these things that we have to talk about. Yeah, so launches, pop-up stores, anything, any collaborations.
I think, like, so this part about community, like going and doing these pop-ups,
Yeah.
has been important for you to build the brand and get new customers. But as you scale up and you're on Shopify Plus,
Yeah.
it still sounds like you're doing a lot of community with your content. Like, you talked a lot about user-generated content
Yeah.
with me earlier. Like,
Yeah,
so
well-
to me, that seems like still like you're making a closer connection with the customer. Has that been a integral part of your campaign?
Yeah, because the thing about Shopify Plus and using all of the good capabilities on there is about improving the user experience. But you can't build your community necessarily just by having a more robust platform. So we have to do both. We have to make it really compelling when you get to the website to move you through the stages of wanting to walk away with something. In the meantime, we have to keep building our community, whether it's, and now it's like across Canada and across North America, because that's the piece that will drive the traffic, right? They're kind of intertwined, but we're improving this side of things so that your shopping experience is great, but we have to get them there first. And the only way to get them there is to kind of maintain this like building of providing UGC, having people who are your raving fans talk about you. And, you know, last night there was questions about influencers, and to be kind of, I was happy I didn't really have to answer the question that there in the room, but we found we don't do it a lot because our product is kind of a higher price point that it's hard to just like give out bedding to influencers, and everyone reaches out and says, I'm redoing my room, you know, I'll talk about you, and we're really picky about it because that's not where we find we build community. We want real people who are using our stuff to talk about it, and that's the stuff we put out because it's just more organic. People can see that these are real people who bought your bedding and they love it, and that's what their room looks like. Amazing, right? I don't have to set up any type of a photo shoot to make this look beautiful. So we find customer generated content is a place where you really can build that community and like leverage out people seeing, and you have days where one person will do it and then they see you've reposted the story, and then other people see that and then they start doing it, so you just get this build.
I think it's like, so we have a few minutes left
Yeah.
here, and I just want to kind of recap what you're saying here. One of the questions I want to ask you is, what do you think your e-commerce superpower is? and does that tie in with this community angle, or maybe it doesn't?
No, I think it does. I do. Because everything else that we're doing, I think, is more textbook. Like there are methodologies you can read for hours online as to how to build a really strong e-commerce company. There's fantastic podcasts. Like, I live by that stuff. But when it comes to distinguishing yourself from a brand that isn't able to build that way, I think it is community. Like, it has to be, because you can kind of manufacture the rest of it. So creating something where, you know, people hear our voices coming out and they recognize that we're doing this because we were the customers that we wanted to help. That has been, I think, coming from never having done e-commerce before. Yeah, I think that's the superpower we developed because we had no choice. But it's a thing that we won't let go of because we never want to switch into being an e-commerce retailer that doesn't really care, you know, that just keeps changing and reiterating a website simply to drive traffic and conversions. It has to be both. So yeah, the community piece of it is our
fundamental.
I think so.
Okay, and that's great. Lastly, I think like, what if somebody hears, or somebody at home is listening to this, and they're either doing well in their business, but they're starting to plateau, or they're just getting started and they feel kind of stuck. What advice would you give someone to complete in the next 30 days to try and get back on track?
That trying to build your owned marketing options is the most important, because we found that you can build social media channels, but again, like, you don't own those. And if that platform ever happened to disappear or become not the platform that people are using, you don't have a lot left.
You can go away really quick.
Yeah, and so I do tell people, and I know it's hard, but I do tell people that building, email lists and things like that, and, you know, the corporate brain part of me thinks about it as, listen, if one day somebody wants to come and buy your business, your Instagram following is probably a lot less important to them than your actual customer list, which is emails nowadays, right? I've seen traditional company purchases and customer lists are really important. And in the digital world, I think your customer list is your email list.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
so
that's I actually preach a lot about this too. It's like Google and Facebook. These are paid media channels that you don't own those spaces.
They can be shut down anytime, but, you know, somebody's email address that they're giving to you is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
That's where I think it's.
So get out there, build your email list.
I think so, yeah. And I totally recognize that is not an easy thing to do. It's not been easy for us either. But we do find that driving that and trying to run campaigns or promotions that help that piece are more valuable than just driving up a social media following.
Excellent. Vivian, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was really valuable.
Absolutely.
I learned a lot from you today myself.
No
I want to
problem.
go try out your linens.
Yes, you should.
I think I'll
sign up for the newsletter. You get a discount.
I will. I'll do that today.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Vivian.
Cool.
It was
You're
great having
welcome.
you last night and today.
Absolutely.
Thanks.